This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Super J-Cast. I'm Joel Abraham, joined by Damon McDonald. I don't know if I should start with the good news or the bad news. Good news, I've got a new microphone, as you can hear. Bad news, let's open with another depressing discussion about lockdowns, viral outbreaks, pandemics. How's the lockdown going for you?
Yeah, we are locked down. Jersey is it's shut down. There's nothing open aside from what they call essentials. Cheryl's working from home. She has her home office in the dining room. I, of course, am in my office per usual. It's not. I mean, we're not bored. We're not. We're not like stir crazy. Maybe a little bit, but we're not. We're not bored. There's plenty to do. There's plenty to watch. I'm fucking playing video games. It's more of the everyday you get new information, and sometimes it's good information, and sometimes it's bad information, and also just the what it's doing to people's morale and what it's doing to businesses in the financial area. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. You can't ignore this, but at the same breath, I worry about all these small businesses, and they're improvising. But I just worry about people's livelihoods and unemployment rates and that kind of stuff that is going to just get battered sooner than later. And that's kind of where when I get mood swings and my mind goes there, that's when I go south.
Yeah, I hear you. And I've got the same concerns because obviously the imminent physical danger of the virus is one thing, but I have a feeling that will pass at some point. But just the question is, what are we going to be left with? Because it's going to totally devastate economies all around the world. And I was saying to you off the air, I feel very grateful and privileged that I'm one of the lucky ones who can work from home and still gets paid. But all the other workers who are out of a job and business owners that have been forced to shut their businesses down, I feel absolutely terrible for them. And the really strange thing about this, Damon, is all these lockdowns and shutdowns. I went through this in January and February. I was talking about it on this podcast, and it just felt something that was very sort of isolated to China at that point. And I didn't really think at the time that it was going to spread to like every fucking country on the planet. So this is now. Bangkok is going to be undergoing a shutdown tomorrow. So this is my second shutdown in the second different country that I've gone through. So it's just really weird. Like when it was all sort of self-contained within China and I was sort of staying at home and all the cafes and shops were closed and I had to not go out, I could sort of compartmentalize that, but also enjoy my other stuff like the normalcy in the rest of the world. Watch my Arsenal matches, watch my New Japan, chat to my friends in the UK, USA, whatever, who are all just going about their normal lives. But now it's everywhere. There's no escaping from it.
I think it's you. Like everywhere you have been, it's you. New
I'm
York,
the super spreader.
You're the super spreader. You went to New York, right? And you left it there, and now it's like what's weird is like, the New York northern New Jersey. I'm more in southern New Jersey, but it's not that far. That's become the epicenter. That's become ground zero, if you will. For this thing now, like New York is, it's the numbers. Just you wake up every day, and that's another thing too. You just wake up every day, and it's just another thing, and another thing, and another thing, and I think that it's becoming a point where almost you're starting to get a little numb to it. You're just like, oh, another shit thing, another shit thing, another shit thing, and you're sitting in the house and you're on your phone, so of course you're looking at social media stuff, and it's just like sometimes it just gets a little overwhelming. But yeah, I think you're it. you wherever you go, it goes. So I think you might be patient zero, Joel. But I think we're doing okay, in the sense of we're doing what we got to do, and what else is there to do, right? Besides do what you got to do. Yeah, but I do think about. Here's also what I think about. I think about. So it doesn't necessarily, like, I don't own a restaurant, right? So, or a bar or anything like that. So it doesn't directly impact me, and I don't work for those people. But like, I do stuff for like senior living places and assisted living places. Like, I do marketing for them, and I just worry that they can't have tours, they can't have people come to see their locations, and then what? When do they say, okay, we're going to halt the marketing budget because we can't have people come? Oh, okay. Then that does affect me again because I'm already down 2. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of shit that I'm kind of like, what the fuck? So I'm all, well, those events that you're going to have, you can't have them anymore. So put it in your digital marketing budget and. That's the stuff that keeps me up at night. Honestly, that's more than anything else. All right, yep, we're depressing now. We're supposed to put some smiles on people's faces, Joel. That's why we're here.
Look, we're going to do a dramatic reading of a fanfic later on in the show, so you can look forward to that. And you're going to get involved in this as well. So
I'm not doing that anymore. Because here's the thing: I don't even know what you went through, and I don't want to know. Because again, you do shield me from a lot of that stuff. No, we're not doing that anymore. We're friendly. We're leaving them alone.
No, it's about us. It's a good one.
Is it?
I think you'll enjoy it. Yeah.
All right. Are we gonna get in trouble? I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want anybody to.
I've asked for permission to use this one.
Okay.
They haven't replied at the time.
Oh!
If they reply, I'm 99% sure they'll be fine with it.
Oh, that's not good. I know that 1% is really not great.
Look, listen, if we said on the podcast, please, we want people to write some disgusting fanfics about us,
right,
and someone does that,
right?
Surely
that means that's a consent.
Surely we can read it. Yeah,
right. That's consent. Is
that implied consent, or have I not learned my lesson from last week?
I don't know. I'm really scared. All right, we'll figure it out. Whatever. I mean, the world's going to end anyway. They can hate us all they want. You know what I mean? Join the crew.
Okay, well, let's put that to one side and stick with the depressing coronavirus news.
Okay,
starting off, big news of the week, Damon. The Tokyo Olympics will be delayed until not later than the summer of 2021, according to the IOC and Tokyo Organising Committee. And when they commence, they'll still be referred to as the 2020 Olympics, and that's added to the fact that the Tokyo government requested organisations not to hold events, and we got an announcement from New Japan saying, as a result of the continuing COVID-19 coronavirus outbreak, New Japan has arrived at the decision to cancel Sakura Genesis on March 31st and day one of the Road to Dontaku Tour on April 11th. So, prefacing this was the fact that K1 held their big annual event in the Saitama Super Arena on Sunday, which drew a lot of criticism. And we also found out one of the 6,500 attendees has come down with a fever and is taking a PCR test. So, all these things combined, it's not a surprise that New Japan have cancelled Sakura Genesis. Disappointing though, because I was kind of half hoping that they might go ahead with Sakura Genesis, given what Kidani said and just the way things were going, the way that the numbers were looking in Japan. I thought there's a chance they've turned a corner here, but given what K1 did, I think that has definitely contributed to this. And now the fact that the Olympics is off the table, it kind of felt to me that a lot of this was to some extent papering over the cracks, but just putting on shows that everything's fine, it's okay, we can still have the Olympics, but now that's off the table, then why bother pretending everything's fine anymore? Just shut everything down until things are actually safe, right?
Yeah, and look, we're not experts at this by any stretch, but I'm just repeating information that I had heard. was that Japan wasn't really testing. They weren't really doing a great job of testing. So look, we knew the Olympics was going to be a big barometer of moving forward. And I had said even I think a show ago or 2 shows ago that I'm more concerned about if they do go ahead, the athletes training and it was like Canada and Australia, I think it was, that said, fuck it, we're not going.
Yeah, and think of the fans as well, flying in from all countries across the world. It just
Right.
I said last week, no way they can go ahead with it. So I'm glad that they've postponed it, but
Yeah.
it doesn't make us feel any better.
No, it doesn't. And then when you heard that, I told you, the worst thing is that when you wake up in the morning, I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is I go downstairs and I look for my phone. And truth be told, not to put any undue pressure, but I always look for conversations that you have that I'm in on at night just to see if there's anything good news or any.
You mean the group WhatsApp chat with Gedo?
Right. Yes. I need that. And I look forward to it, even if it's just like a string of jokes. We're just fucking making fun of something, or if it's every once in a while I'll look for little tidbits of news. That's always nice to wake up to. Hopefully, it's good news. But sometimes, I'll get it. Nothing. Sometimes nothing worries me more than anything else, because then I think, oh, people don't like us. I want you to like us. Bad news, and it feels like you wake up to more bad news, and it's like, ugh. And when I got that wasn't happening. Man, maybe I put a lot of false hope into it. Maybe in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, maybe this is just exactly what we need. Because other promotions were running shows, Joel. All Japan just ran a fucking show like 2 nights ago at Korakuen. Wasn't a horrible show. It was pretty good. Main event was pretty good. Main event was really good. Kenta Miyahara, Suwama.
What did you think of the result? Spoiler alert. If you don't want to be spoiled from All Japan, skip ahead.
Yeah, good call. Weird. I kind of thought it was weird that they went in that direction. I don't know. I didn't really think that. It felt like a reset and let's go back in time kind of thing. And it might be just like just a little, just to keep things interesting, title change, right? Just something to kind of just wake people up a little bit. But I thought it was a little bit odd that direction. I can't imagine him holding it long. Truth be told, I can't imagine Swama holding it long. But I was a little bit shocked by it.
I mean, to get things back on topic, All Japan have announced that Joel Redman, Lucas Steele, and Davey Boy Smith Jr. will not be competing in this year's Champion Carnival due to travel issues relating to COVID-19. So, again, that was another problem that would be encountered by New Japan if and when they decided to run again. It's the guys who are in those high-risk countries, guys like Will Ospreay. What are the prospects of them being able to get back and work again, given everything that's happened? So, just piles and piles of shit, isn't it, Damon?
It really is. It's unbelievable how this is impacted. Now, again, New Japan, you would hope they have the security blanket of Bushi Road. All right, you would want to think that they have that comfort. Joel, there are countless pro wrestling promotions and countless pro wrestlers. I mean, it kind of feels like they don't know where the next fucking meal is going to come from.
Right, and I guess that's what happened with K1. I figure they had their backs to the wall. It was either run that show and get slaughtered, or don't run it and go out of business. And maybe All Japan are facing a similar scenario here, because I'm pretty surprised they're still going ahead with the Champion Carnival, but they must be in pretty dire straits financially to feel like they have to do that, given everything that's going on.
And the crowd there was, everybody felt like had masks, but there were some renegades in that crowd that had no masks. There. I was like, "Ooh, put on a fucking mask." But it wasn't. Look, they had more people in Korakuen than I thought that they were. You know, like if you said, give me an idea of what that building would look like, I would say you're looking at orange seats, top to bottom, and that wasn't the case. I mean, it wasn't sold out by any stretch, but there were more people in there than I thought, and they're brawling in the crowd, and I'm just like, whoa, dude, like, there's just no, they didn't give a shit. They just did their show, and I'm kind of left scratching my head, like, is this a good idea? And you're right. It feels like they got to do it. But in the same breath, isn't Stardom running shows? Don't they have like a big tournament? Or
Cinderella tournament.
Right. Isn't that weird to you? I mean, again, you would think that they would have the security of Bushi Road to say, okay, you don't have to run shows. We got you. We're going to float you the money. And I know that they're taking precautions with people going in. They're taking their temperature. There's hand sanitizer everywhere. I don't know. It's
just a question of scale, because a Korakuen show is very different from a big sumo hall show.
It is, but still. I mean, I know it's night and day, but I mean, for some perspective, Joe, I can't have a third person in my house. I'm limited to groups of two. We cannot have more than two people together in one place. They got, 1,500, 1,800.
Yeah. This is what I was saying before. I've been saying this for weeks. These weird kind of half measures that my guess was because they were trying to save face because they wanted to still have the Olympics. But now that's been taken off the table, just like advising these companies, we advise you not to hold any big events. That's pointless. It's futile. You either shut things down or you don't. This sort of half-assing it doesn't help anyone.
You've said this from the jump too. And go back and listen. You have said this from the start. You have lived this now twice. Anytime you want to come to New Jersey, you can get a third time. Yeah, I mean, it just seems like I could not believe. I mean, I knew it was happening, but I could not believe that I was watching the show that happened the night before. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, what? Again, what it comes down to, it really feels like, is they have to run these shows. And they're gonna, and until they're told specifically, you cannot run these shows, as opposed to, it might not be a good idea. That's again, if people get sick from this, and I know people are going to say, well, it's not so bad here. It's not so bad. That's what everybody said. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joel, but I seem to vividly remember everyone saying, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. It's just a flu. And okay, all right. Here's where we are with that mindset. Getting back to New Japan, Joel.
I just wonder if now the Japanese government might think, fuck it, no Olympics. Right, no one's holding any events now. All Japan, K1, Stardom, DDT, Dragon Gate, shut it down. No one's running shows anymore.
I mean, didn't they do that? I mean, they shut down the beginning of their baseball season. I mean, here's the thing. No one... I don't want to say that this is like complete outlaw fucking, as some guy would say, complete mud show shit. But I don't think Japanese government has Big Japan Pro Wrestling high on their docket. Right? I would venture a guess to say they have no fucking idea what a Big Japan Pro Wrestling is, or a All Japan Pro Wrestling at this point. So they're just doing it. I mean, they know baseball. They know, football. They know, sports that have a little bit more of a draw.
Sumo, they ran the latest sumo tournament in an empty arena.
Okay, there you go. Right. Maybe it's just not on their radar. I mean, that's the only thing I could possibly think of, and nobody is like going to dime them out. That's the only thing I can think of. That's the only thing I can think of. Again, I don't know. No, in this more than usual, I am completely talking out of my ass. But I'm just looking at the situation and just thinking, this can't be good. This can't be a good scenario. But again, getting back to the New Japan point, man, that was maybe it was false hope on my end, but it did take the wind out of my sails for a good couple hours. Just like fuck, because I was looking forward to hopefully seeing that. In my mind, logic was saying, "There's no fucking way this is happening." But again, you would get little tastes and little glimmers of hope. Yeah, that one hurt. That one hurt. Can somebody send me good news? Someone
watch something else to take your mind off it. I hear there's a Chris Benoit documentary, Dark Side of Ringless.
Yeah, I was. Did you watch it?
No, I will watch it later this evening. I haven't had a chance to today.
I watched part one. I haven't watched the second part. It was part one. A lot of the focus, and I think a lot of the focus was because of the people that they had access to. Chavo, Vicky. A lot of it centered around the relationships that Benoit had with Eddie Guerrero, as well as his relationship with Nancy, woman. And so that was kind of like the part one. And then it ended. It did end right around the time of when the shit was going down, the day the shit all went down. So, was it good? Yeah, I think it was good. I don't think anything was necessarily glossed over. I don't think anything was put in a way where it was like, you know how WWE rewrites their own fucking history. I don't think it was that at all. I thought it was good. I think it's well worth a watch. Let's put it that way. For me to sit down and watch it and be in to the end, I think that says something, right? I thought it was good.
Yeah, I will definitely watch it. I know the Laps Fan podcast did a 3-show special. It was like nearly 10 hours of audio about the Benoit situation, and that was really excellently done. There's no right or wrong answer for this one about where you personally draw the line when it comes to separating the art from the artist, whether or not you can sit down and, quote unquote, enjoy or appreciate a Chris Benoit match, given that what he did. So if you are someone who says like, I can't watch it, he makes me sick after what he did, I can't enjoy his work, or if you're someone who says, yes, what he did was terrible, but I can still appreciate his wrestling on a technical level, yeah, like I said, it's not a morally black or white area. It's just a personal thing, isn't it? So
it is.
Where do you stand on that?
That's a great question, and I get asked this more on a musical scale, and the best way I can describe it is, I think when people give you art, the art is now yours to interpret and to connect with or not, in the way that the person sees fit. Like like when it's kind of like this show in a very weird sense. Like once we do a show, that's the show. You know what I mean? And then and that's it. And then how people enjoy it, it's theirs. And again, I feel that with music, and I feel that with wrestling matches, right? When two guys or two women or whatever combination there is in that ring, when the bell rings and the bell rings for a second time to end the match, that's the match. And here it is. Here's the art. And it's like a song. I always use the Smiths as that kind of talking point when it comes to this. It's like, I love the Smiths. I absolutely adore the Smiths. And the music means so much to me, and the albums mean so much to me, and the songs connect with me. But that's my connection. That's my personal connection. Once Morrissey and Johnny Marr wrote those songs and put it out there, that those are now mine and yours and whoever to do with what you think is right with it, and whatever connection that is. That's a personal thing. That doesn't mean that Morrissey now says things that will just, like, you just left scratching your head, like, how can you be this guy, and how can you think these things, and how can these words come out of your mouth? That doesn't diminish the fact that This Charming Man is great, right? Or The Queen is Dead is an unbelievable album. It doesn't take away from that. So I guess I have a little bit. Not that I can't, not that I won't separate what he did. I mean, it's there, but I don't let that impact the work that they've done and the art that they've created. And that doesn't mean I put him on a pedestal and think he's any less of a monster for doing what he did. He's a fucking heinous monster. Killed his wife, killed his kid, killed himself. You can't get any more heinous. It doesn't separate it.
Yeah, being able to watch one of his matches and enjoy it and think this is a good match is not a tacit endorsement of what he did.
Right. It certainly isn't. And again, I have no connection with him, too. And I think that helps, too. Like, if I knew Chris Benoit, or if I had a working relationship with Chris Benoit, or if I had any interactions with that child, or what, you know what I mean? I think maybe I would have a different point of view. So I have that comfortable distance. And here's the thing too. This is just me talking. How you connect with that makes, that's you. That's your choice. If you can't turn on a match of his without getting physically ill, I get that. I will never say, well, come on, look past that, and what a great suplex. You know what I mean? I understand that. But for me personally, I just don't think of art, and I put pro wrestling in an art form. I don't think of art as, again, once it's released, once it's there, once it's out there, it's about me and my connection with that piece, as opposed to me and my connection with that person.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm in a similar camp. I can watch the matches and compartmentalise those two things. But I will watch the documentary. Maybe we can talk about that next week. But going back on topic then, a few questions. Bash says, do you think any other events like Best of the Super Juniors will be cancelled? I hope not, because it's one of my favourite tournaments. I think Dontaku's done. I don't think Dontaku's happening. And Best of the Super Juniors is on thin ice as far as I'm concerned.
I think that's the best answer, right? We don't know. But yeah, putting the Super J-Cast gun to my head, I think Dontaku's toast. And yep, Best of the Super Junior, well, at best is thin ice. That's right around the corner, by the way. That's not that far away, if you really want to think about it. Look, Joel, tickets go on sale for Madison Square Garden in a handful of days, maybe a week or two. Not even that, maybe a week. I specifically, to the people that would listen in New Japan, have said you should really think about postponing that on sale date. One, it's going to be a zoo trying to get those tickets because, again, the infrastructure just isn't there. People don't have money to buy New Japan Pro Wrestling tickets. I hate to say it. It's not a high priority right now. Like, again, we talked about Ground Zero. New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, the crowd that you were going to draw from We are in the midst of some shit, and ticket sales are the least of their concerns. Postpone that. Move it. You got August 22nd is the date. You've got plenty of time. Tickets don't have to go on sale. And my big fear is that if it doesn't do well on when the tickets are released, Joel, I'm not a big fan of this trickle. Oh, we're sold out. You need a big pop for a big building like that. You need to have a big day one sale to fill that building. That's what my concern is. Because if they don't have that, it's gonna be rough. But I really feel like New Japan should hold off on that ticket launch date. I really do. Very strongly I feel that way.
TaylorMade asks, with seemingly no end in sight as of writing, did New Japan save everything until G1 2020? If so, can they build to Wrestle Kingdom based on G1 storylines alone? Yeah, that's something we forgot to mention, actually. The fact that New Japan shifted the G1 to the autumn to accommodate the Olympics, and presumably might have to do the same thing again next year. And maybe this becomes a regular thing. And even just the act of postponing the Olympics 1 year is not as simple as you might think, because a lot of these Olympic facilities and venues have been leased out for subsequent years because they obviously expected them to not be in use by 2021. So, for example, like accommodation arrangements where athletes might stay have already been rented out for 2021. So there's just a whole slew of other problems that are going to come with this Olympic thing, not to mention the G1 climax. So what's your take specifically on the positioning, the role of the G1 for this year at least?
Yeah. I mean, could they move it back? Did they have to do it in the autumn? Could they just go back to summertime?
Would it be safe to run by the summertime? I don't know. It doesn't seem likely at this point.
Right. That's that. Then that becomes the key. Is that going to be an issue? And obviously that is a huge deal. Number one, moneymaker for New Japan, and two, just from a storyline getting from point A to point B. I mean, look, it's March, at the end of March, and we're talking about G1, and we're talking about Wrestle Kingdom already. We don't know how G1 always leads to Wrestle Kingdom. I don't know. Listen, like these type of questions is just us speculating, but I don't know what's going to happen in the next 24 hours in this country if a stimulus package is going to be fucking released. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, G1. If I'm them, I'm moving it back to the summer and hoping that, because the buildings are going to be available, right? The buildings that weren't are now going to be.
But what about all the venues that they booked for the other stuff, like the Hokkaido tour?
Yeah. I mean, I guess if we keep the course and go in the autumn, right? Stay the course. It's going to be. I think it'd be more of a headache to try to go back to the summer now that I think about it out loud. Stay the course. What else are you going to do, Joel? Stay the course. And it buys you time with hopefully we'll be out of the woods with the virus stuff. Yeah, I would stay the course. Keep it where it is and shoehorn in a lot of shit in a couple months, that's for sure.
All right, other stuff. There was an interview with Sports Illustrated with Harold May, and he spoke a bit about how the company's managing the coronavirus crisis, new television deals, things like that. There wasn't that much interesting to glean from it. The main takeaway was he mentioned the plan for Wrestle Dynasty to be an annual event, and also regarding the COVID-19, they're trying to be an example in the COVID-19 decisions because they're the biggest company. So, when you ask questions like why Stardom is still running, given that they are also intellectual property of Bushiroad, but New Japan are not, it's a question of scale. if we're to take this interview at face value.
Yeah, it just seems weird. Again, I can't have a gathering of 3 people, and I know right now I'm a hot spot. But yeah, it just seems weird. Just shut everything down. You're not going to be able to answer it, but let's have fun with it. If this is fun, when are we coming back, Joel? Are we coming back? Look, I'm going to give you some events. You tell me if it's happening. We already talked. We're not doing Sakura Genesis. We know that. Dantaku, you're saying no, right?
Right.
Best of the Super Juniors.
What's happening in Xiamen at the moment? Everything looks like it's gone back to normal. People are sending me photos where, the wet markets are open again, the parks are open, everyone's going out, and that kind of makes me nervous because I'm scared that you look at what's happening in places like Taiwan or Hong Kong and Singapore where they had it under control and then they took their eye off the ball, they got complacent, and now it's back. Now they're struggling again. But using Xiamen as an example, if, fingers crossed things go all right there, if Japan manages to get their shit together and deal with it properly and lock things down, I think doing it properly, a month, you could have things close to normal. So I'm going to be optimistic and say yes to Best of the Super Juniors.
Okay. All right.
But you got to be pretty draconian. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned it last week. When I go back to Xiamen and when my colleagues are going back to China, there is a mandatory 2-week hotel quarantine at your own expense. So it doesn't matter which country you're coming from. That plane lands, you're sitting on that plane for 4 hours, then you're being taken to different hotels across the city. Right, this is the hotel you're staying at. Do not come out of that room for 2 weeks. And people coming in to test you. That is the kind of shit that needs to be done in order to deal with this properly. So whether or not Japan do that, I don't know. But if they do that, I think there is the steps to success.
And again, Dr. Joel Abraham, do you think that's the only way this gets sorted out?
Yep.
Yeah. I tend to agree. All right. What other questions do we have from our loyal listeners to the COVID-19 / JCast?
Let's have a bit of good news, Damon, because we've had all bad news so far. It's been a very somber beginning to the podcast. But if this doesn't get you excited, then nothing will. And that is the news that one Matt Hardy's AEW contract allows him to work New Japan as well, and he has expressed interest in working NJPW and working Wrestle Kingdom. So, Damon, Matt Hardy in New Japan, yes or no?
No. I'm a firm no. I love it. I love it when all these guys, get released, and it's like, oh, well, I want to go to New Japan. It's like, yeah, I'm sure you do. Doesn't mean New Japan wants you. Let's make that very clear.
My favourite response was WH saying, "You might as well ask if I want irritable bowel syndrome."
Sounds fun. Again, I just don't think it's a good fit. And I saw some people mention, he would be maybe like in a comedy role, a mid-card role, blah blah blah. Remember when Rey Mysterio was hanging around in the mix? I'm not a big fan of guys who have made their mark and done their deal and have had a long career taking mid-card spots from people who are trying to get to mid-card spots. Does that make any sense? I feel like that is a great example of a guy who's not a fit, not really what I'd be looking for if I was a New Japan Pro Wrestling fan, being popped in there because he's Matt Hardy. You know, and while we have a talent roster that is stuffed to the gills with guys busting their asses, trying to get to that rung where Matt Hardy's going to just plop in. I understand the value of Matt Hardy in the sense of he's a name, America, expand. I'm kind of sick of that. That's a spot where people are fighting for, and Matt Hardy's going to parachute in. I don't know. I don't. And again,
if you with Juice Robinson has to lay down for him.
right. If I'm Juice Robinson, I'm like, what? David Finlay, Henare.
Get me Triple H's phone number now.
right. It's those people. Tongaloa. Those that rung. They got to be looking like what? So I'm a hard, firm no thanks for all the reasons. And here's another thing too. Let's be truthful. Even for the people that are like, yeah, put him in a mid-card comedy, let him roll around with Yano and Colt Cabana and all that. Would it be worth it? Like for the money that Matt Hardy would want? Is that worth it? Like, is Matt Hardy? Is the return on investment there for Matt Hardy in a New Japan Pro Wrestling ring? It's not like it's Chris Jericho. You know what I mean? It's not like it's Kenneth. It's not like it's Cody. I just don't see the benefit being there. I don't even think I should be putting Cody in that fucking same sentence, to be honest with you. But you get my point.
Would you rather New Japan comes back for Dontaku, but Matt Hardy gets a mid-card run with a company, including a Wrestle Kingdom match, or no Dontaku, New Japan comes back for Best of the Super Juniors, no Matt Hardy?
So no Dontaku, but we come back for Best of the Super Juniors?
Yeah, so basically you either get... Would you sacrifice the entire Dontaku tour to not have Matt Hardy working with the company?
Yes, I would.
Yeah, me too. I tell you, Damon, I put out a Twitter poll, and I was shocked how many people said yes. And when I said, "Would you be interested in seeing Matt Hardy in New Japan?" a third of the people said yes. It was 768 votes. 33.2% said yes, which I thought was really high. And I'm shocked that so many people thought that there was value to it. But what did make me laugh is one of our many friends in Japan, I won't name because I don't want to put them on blast here, but our friend said, anyway, zero interest in Matt Hardy. Why are the Hardy brothers so popular? They're not popular in Japan at all, like Nick Aldis. Have you watched Jeff Hardy versus Naito TNA title at Tokyo Dome? It was so terrible. I feel Matt Hardy's like Tenzan saying, I can wrestle at WrestleMania because of my contract with New Japan, or Makabe. If Matt Hardy really wants to come to New Japan, he must eat a pin to Yoshihashi at Korakuen, and he has to do laundry for the LA Dojo guys. They are much more important than Hardys. Yes! Preach! I 100% agree with every word of that.
Yeah, I'm on board. I want to now. Let's throw in a little monkey wrench here. If Matt Hardy agrees to do laundry for the LA Dojo boys, like he's laundry guy now, I would bring in Matt Hardy for Dantaku. if there's visual proof that Matt Hardy is doing laundry and Chonko duties, I would be in. I would be okay with it. I'd be okay with it. I need some dues to be paid. Is basically what I'm saying. I need him to be hit with that fucking kendo stick by Shibata a couple of times before he's on Dantaku.
Let's move on to a segment of the show that I teased earlier, which I'm quite excited about. I know, Damon, you're scared. And that is our dramatic reading of a fanfic. So let's do it, and then if you're not feeling good about it afterwards, we can ask Dan to delete it in post. All right?
All right, that's fair. Now, again, so somebody wrote this to us. Somebody sent this to us, right?
Someone on Twitter sent me the link to it. It's new. I don't know if the person who linked me to it on Twitter is the author.
Oh,
I've sent a message saying, "Hi, can I read this on the podcast, please? It's great." And I kind of feel by the tone of it invites a reading. But let's read it and
Okay.
see what you think. If not, we can always get down to trim out this audio and save it until we've got permission from the writer. So there's
Right.
another option.
so here's the thing. So if you're hearing this right now, we got permission, right?
Yeah.
So at this point, if you hear our voices and we're talking about this, we got permission. Okay, that's fair. But then it's going to take forever for us to fucking release this show.
No. I'm saying not holding the show. I mean, if we don't get a response from the person, we can get Dan. Can you just cut this chunk of audio and save that chunk of audio for next week?
Gotcha. Okay, all right, then let's go with it. Let's fucking do it.
Okay. You got the link there?
I do. Oh, I do. Oh my god. All right.
Okay. So you can read. You read the bits. That's Damon speaking. I'll do the narrator and the bits Joel. So the title of this piece is. And again, I want to preface this like, please respect the fanfic community. This is great stuff. We really appreciate the work people do. Don't go pestering them or sharing stuff without their consent. All that stuff. Like I said last week, don't want to get in trouble again. So, title of this piece is Super J Fist by its_Feldspar.
Wait,
I
gotta get it. I gotta proceed. Okay, great. Oh, okay, there he is. Okay.
Summary.
Oh my.
Are you sure about this? Notes. Welcome to the big leagues, boys. Here's your fanfic.
Okay.
Okay, ready? So
Yes.
the first line is me, second line is you. Chapter
Okay.
1. Are you sure about this?
Of course I'm sure. Why wouldn't I be?
No, I meant this. Joel held up the dish of butter. It had warmed to room temperature and the edges were softened. The surface is glimmering. Are you sure we should use butter?
What else would I want you to use?
Olive oil, maybe? Joel suggested. When he saw the incredulous look Damon gave him, he added, some type of healthy alternative?
Oh my god, really? You think I'm worried about fucking calories or triglycerides or whatever the fuck? At a time like this, it's a special occasion. This person nailed me perfectly.
I'm just saying, butter doesn't seem like the best.
Am I going to have to do this myself? Damon griped. Just grease up your fist and get after it, for fuck's sake.
Joel hesitated a moment longer before he scooped up a dollop of the butter. It glistened in the low light as he slathered it onto his bare hands, taking care to coat every inch of skin, thick streaks of pale yellow fat all the way up to his wrist. He wiped the butter off on his other hand, on one of the spread thighs in front of him, and gripped a leg to steady it as he lined his slick, oiled fist up with the hole. The first few fingers entered effortlessly into the gaping hole, but Joel soon encountered resistance as he worked all 4 fingers in up to the base of his hand.
Wow!
He could hear Damon breathing, a chuff of impatience, followed by,
Oh, I'm sorry. You gotta get it really open.
I am!
Not with that fucking technique. You gotta start working your thumb in there if you wanna.
Piss off! Joel ran his thumb back and forth across where the hole was pulled taut, delicate skin stretched wide. Then he tucked his thumb, bringing all the fingers of his hand together as he slid it in, deeper and deeper until his entire fist was engulfed up to the wrist inside of the orifice. Letting go of the breath that he hadn't realised he was holding, Joel pistoned his arm back and forth, fist-fucking it until...
Now put the beer. Now put the beer can in.
Didn't I tell you to piss off? Joel looked over his shoulder to where Damon, who stood impatient, both of his arms in slings.
What? I'm just trying to help you here. Fuck.
I know how to make a beer can chicken.
Sorry for interrupting you. Your precious moment. Oh, sorry.
Joel pulled his hand free with a lewd, wet sound to swat at Damon. It wasn't much of a serious attempt, but Damon dodged backwards nonetheless, keen on avoiding the hand that was dripping melted butter and chicken juices, even with the immobilization braces on his arms impeding his movement. I'm the one helping you out here, so cut the backseat driving. If you wanted to do it yourself, then you shouldn't have strained both your rotator cuffs beating off Kevin Kelly.
Don't tell me how the fuck to live my life. You know me. When I go hard.
I'm applauding. What a brilliant piece of fiction that was.
That
I
was
say
fantastic.
fiction.
That was fantastic. So it's a beer can chicken we're making here.
What did you think was going on?
Well, sounded to me like I was getting fisted. That's what it sounded like. But
Get your mind out of the gutter.
I know. That was a swerve. That was a little. I like the fact that we're having a nice meal, a nice beer can chicken. That was great. I hope this makes the light of day because honestly, that was funny and good writing. Excellent job. I feel like we've made it. I actually. You're not gonna. I'm not lying when I say this. I haven't felt this good in days, like right now. Just laughing and that was good. I hope this sees the light of day. And here's what I need for you to do. I need when you contact that person again, and just to make sure we can get permission. I want you to let them know that and this is a shoot. I'm not bullshitting. I legit laughed harder than I have in days, and it has put a smile on my face. And I think this would be funny for everybody. So, awesome work. Excellent. I feel great.
Yeah, I feel genuinely like privileged and humbled that a writer of this level of skill and talent would take their time to write something like this about us, which has made us both laugh. And I just think it's fantastic. It's really well written. This is just excellent stuff.
Me too. Me too. I kid you not. I'm smiling from ear to ear for the first time in days. So, I mean, yeah. Okay. I hope it sees the light of day. I really do.
Right, I want to talk to Gaming Damon. Damon, please talk to me about your experiences with Shadow of the Colossus, which is one of my favourite games of all time. Talk to me. Joel,
I'm in love with this game. I am in love with this game. First, I'm playing on a PS4. The visuals and the graphics are stunning. I don't think I've ever experienced a video game like it. And I'm not a big video game guy. I don't play a ton of games, but this is like it's some of these scenes. There's one scene where it's like a gigantic cavernous waterfall, and just the level of detail is unbelievable. Two, you're right. It is like puzzles. So again, the object of you're I guess like a prince of some kind, and you're carrying this woman. I don't know if it's his girlfriend, his wife. I don't know what the story is. Sister. I don't know. But carrying her through the woods to this gigantic ruin, and you have to defeat these colossuses that represent evil or whatever. I don't even know what. And there's like 7, 8, 10 of them that you have to defeat. And it is kind of like a puzzle because you go into it, you travel you on horseback to where these monsters are, and you have to beat them. But you don't know how to beat them. You're just like, okay, I got a bow and arrow, I got a sword, and then I don't know what the fuck. So it's a lot of trial and error, and like, okay. But they all have like these tufts of fur, and it seems like they all have a very common theme of you got to get on the fucking fur and then climb on this gigantic colossus to get like I call it their weak spots or their fucking hot spots, and you got to stab it, and then it gushes this fucking black blood. It's awesome. I'm having so much fun. It's frustrating because there's times where it's like I don't know what the fuck, and then I got to go to I feel like I'm cheating, but I got to go to like online like a video and be like, oh, how the fuck do I even attempt to beat this guy?
It does give you clues, doesn't that sort of omniscient narration give you? Yeah,
it does. It does. Like, what was the one that I beat without a video? The one where you had to hide. So it was like you're in this gigantic room, and then you hide underneath this overpass, and this big colossus has this gigantic beard, and it will lean down and kind of look to see if you're in that cubby thing. And then you hop on the beard quick, and then you climb up and you fucking stab the shit out of it. So yeah, that one, it did give you a clue. But even the clues are kind of like, they're like in like, proverb speak. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? But
grab its beard and stab the shit out of it.
Right, that's what I want. I want clear instructions, please. Grab it onto its beard, stab the shit out of it. But they all have a very similar theme in the sense of, again, you got to get on the Colossus. That's really your goal. So you know that going in, and you know that you to navigate once you're on top of this fucking beast is you gotta you're looking for those hot spots. So the hard part is like, how do you get on it? Like there's one where you're in this gigantic body of water, and it's like an eel almost. So you gotta you're on it, but like how the fuck do I latch onto this fucker? And it takes you underwater, so you're holding your breath, so your stamina gets down because you're holding on, and then there was one with like a giant bird that you had to get. I don't know, dude. I love it. I swear to you, I've played it every night. Right now, I am in the level where it's kind of like a giant cockroach, I guess, where it's like you're in this ruin, but it's like cylindrical, and you have to kind of shoot an arrow, and then it climbs up the wall, and you got to shoot it off the wall. You hit its feet, and it falls, and then you got to hurry up and get down, jump down, and then get the fuck on top of them and stab them. And I can't get down quick enough. Like I'm literally jumping from 7 stories to get down to the ground to run over to stab him. But by the time I get there, I can't. Like he's coming to. So I haven't beaten that one. I was working on that one last night. But I love it. I really do. I've never really felt this way about a video game, and maybe it's just everything that's going on right now. But this is the most fun I've had playing a video game besides like Fire Pro, where I'm not really playing. Or like not even a sports game. Like this has truly been maybe top 3 games I've ever played.
It's quite a unique experience, isn't it? Because there's not really any dialogue or a lot of characters or regular enemies, so to speak. So what really stuck with me, I mean, aside from the Colossus fights themselves, are those moments of solitary contemplation where you're on the back of your horse aggro and you're trotting through some plains or over a bridge or across through a glade, or the sun's peeking through the trees and all that stuff, and there's no music and there's no dialogue. It's just you running along with your horse, and there's that kind of sense of sort of melancholy loneliness about it, isn't there?
Yeah. And you know what, you mentioned the music too. Like the music is somewhat haunting. It's like Cheryl would walk in the room and be like, "Oh my God, what is this music? It's so sad." I'd be like, "It's the game, but it's kind of I like it." Yeah, you're right. It's and again it's very vast. It seems like you could take that horse and just go forever. Like I've gotten lost plenty of times. You had to like hold up your sword to get to find out which fucking direction you got to go. There have been times where I've been like, I don't even know where the fuck I am at this point. And you wind up in caves, and then you wind up out, in another area where you're just like, holy shit, look at this. This is amazing. The detail in some of these landscapes, it's unbelievable. Like even like something as simple as like the grass, you know what I mean? Like and the little lizards that you can shoot for extra stamina. Just little things like that. I'm in love with the game. And the game's not new, is it? It's like at least a couple of years old, right?
I think it might be around 2008, actually.
Wow. All right. Well, I mean, that's...
No, 2005.
That's 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's amazing. Do you think they'd come out with another version of this?
It's part of a sort of loosely connected trilogy. The first one was called Ico, and then Shadow of the Colossus was next, and then there was one called The Last Guardian. I haven't played The Last Guardian yet, but would they remake it? I think, well, I mean, this one that you're playing is a kind of remake / remaster of the original one, but I think there'd definitely be demand for a sequel, or maybe like a full sort of from the ground up remake somewhere down the line. I even heard talk about them trying to do a Hollywood movie about it, which I think would be absolutely terrible. But I was listening to a podcast about it. If anyone else is into video games, it's the Cane and Rinse video game podcast. And funnily enough, on Monday they released an episode about Shadow of the Colossus, and that was really interesting because they went into some of the development history and the huge unofficial fan campaigns to try and figure out the secrets. People hunting for to see if there was like a hidden 17th Colossus in the game and secrets and stuff like that, which was I found really interesting. There's a really good YouTube video about it. So yeah, it's just absolutely fascinating, absorbing, wonderful game.
Yeah, I mean, and this is coming from a person who, again, doesn't necessarily. There's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's not like you'll get it quick if you're not a video game person. You'll pick up on it quick. It's so much fun. I can't imagine. I couldn't imagine it being that much fun, but it is. I'm loving every minute of it, and I'll go so far as to say, Joel, there are times where I'm lying in bed before I fall asleep, and I'm thinking, all right, when I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to fucking try it this way. I'm going to try going up this like
that is it. That's a sign of a great game, isn't it, when it
right.
gets inside your head like that.
Right. I'm sitting there like, all right, if I just fucking, you know what, there is that thing. All right, I'm going to try that. And then, right. And then I'm looking forward to doing it. So, yes, A+. Great job. Great recommendation from Joel Abraham. Excellent job.
Right, let's move on to the Super J-Cast Classic Watch Along. First match, I picked this one, was the Taichi versus Taka Michinoku match from 18th of May 2017 in the Best of the Super Juniors. And as always, we've got the great contextual notes from a friend of the show, Manabu, who says the main event of this same show was Ospreay versus Ricochet. So Taichi and Taka tried to do something completely opposite to the main event. However, Meltzer gave 4 3/4 stars for Ospreay Ricochet and 1/4 for Taka Taichi. So there's no justice in the world, Damon. Obviously this is a match that I picked. My thought, first of all, Taka, what an underrated entrance theme. I love that one and I miss hearing it. Also, I forgot to mention last week when we were talking about favourite entrance themes, I really like Kanemaru's. I know Kanemaru wasn't in this match, but when we finished recording, I was like, I forgot to say Kanemaru's Slide Boots theme. Really like that one. And I noticed on Taka Michinoku's robe he had Ready to Kiss. So I don't know what that means, but obviously he was ready to do that. And there were the dueling chants, the Taichi, Kaere, and Let's Go Taichi. So Korakuen, as always, ahead of the curve. And you can clearly see a couple of guys in the front row just fucking about on their phones as Taka and Taichi are circling each other in the first few minutes. But the crowd do get into it, even though there's not really anything happening. And I just thought these two guys built great drama from just like whether or not they're even going to lock hands. And it's a match that's sort of almost DDT-ish. It reminded me of the Akito versus Asuka light tube death match last year. But this was something that I think made sense with the characters. It was creative. I thought it was really funny. And half of the selling in this match is done via subtle facial expressions. Like Taichi's really great at that. His little smirks as he's doing the count-out teases, like getting in and out of the ring at the 19 count. And then Taka kicking the ropes, the low blow Taichi, I thought was a really good payoff to the no contact, like first 6-7 minutes of the match. And I just love the way that they weren't willing to physically attack each other directly, but they were doing it indirectly, like the turnbuckle, shoulder charge spot and things like that. And it was just interesting to me how Taka was positioned as the de facto babyface, and the first actual physical attack of the match ended up winning the match. And then you had Taichi, jumping up and down, smiling, he's raising the ref's hands. That was a real joy. And even Taka's got a cheeky little smile of begrudging admiration for his teammate. And then they have a fist bump and a hug at the end, and they get some applause from the audience. And it highlights one thing that I really love about New Japan, which is the fluidity of the heel and face dynamics, in that in 2017, Suzuki-gun were absolute scumbags. Everyone hated Suzuki-gun. They were putting on horrible, interference-filled bullshit matches. But here, you get a fun little match with a feel-good moment at the end. And also, I think it's a very timely match. It's the ultimate COVID-19 match because they barely touch each other. So this is your blueprint for wrestling going forwards. You can learn a lot from this one. What did you think of it?
Yeah, this is what wrestling will be now. They set the mold. I remember talking about this match when it happened, and I think one of the highlights for me personally was the realization of when you get what they're going for, you get that, oh my God, they're going to work a match where they don't touch each other the entire way. right? And it's amazing how your body chemistry changes when you finally clue it in and you get the joke and you get what they were going for. Because in the beginning, I remember being almost physically ill at the anger that was coursing through my bones of what was going on, and the stalling it was just like, what the fuck? Come on. And then again, there's a light bulb moment, and I forget exactly where it is in the match, but it's when when you finally realize what they're going for, and it's you're in on the joke, and you go, oh, and now you're rooting for it. You don't want to see them touch, right? You want to see what else they can do. How can they get out of this puzzle without touching the walls? And it turned into something interesting. Yeah, and it turned into something fun. And, let's be honest, there really hasn't been anything since that when it comes to a match that's worked like that. And it wasn't campy. It wasn't, it wasn't like Invisible Man shit. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't that. It made some sense, right? It made sense how they were working the match. So, yeah, in a strange way, I kind of feel like this is masterclass pro wrestling. Let's have a match without having a match. There has to be some appreciation for the creativity and being able to pull it off. There has to be. So I think I know Meltzer, when he does his star ratings, I guess he's looking for physical performance of a pro wrestling match. But to me, that's really good pro wrestling if you think about it. But yeah, again, I think the star of the match is when you realize what the joke is, and now you're in on the joke, and that's when your enjoyment level goes up tenfold.
I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised at how much you enjoyed this. I thought you were going to absolutely bury it, so I'm glad we're on the same page with that, because I think it's a match
I did it first.
Yeah, a lot of people I think look back on it fondly, but yeah, certainly at the time, if you were there watching the match, then I can understand how at first you would have a different take on it.
Oh, absolutely. And again, keep in mind, and you're right, this is peak Tai Chi bullshit mode. You know what I mean? Like, the people who didn't like Tai Chi were like pinned 100% on that side of get him the fuck off my screen. Fast forward, he is nonsense. This isn't 2020, 2019 Tai Chi. This is full deep end of the pool bullshit Tai Chi. And yet, this even people who hated him appreciated this match again once they once they were let in on the joke. That's when it turns a corner. But yeah, at the beginning of the match, oh dude, I fucking hated it. I wanted to jump out a window.
They worked you, Damon. You got worked.
Yeah,
a big mark.
I got worked. Yeah, I am a big mark.
Okay, second match then was the NJPW 5 versus UWF 5 elimination match. So we got Antonio Inoki, Tatsumi Fujinami, Kengo Kimura, Umanosuke Ueda, and Kantaro Hoshino versus Akira Maeda, Yoshiaki Fujiwara, Osamu Kido, Nobuhiko Takada, and Kazuo Yamazaki for New Wave Dash in 26th of March 1986. So context from Manabu, the first UWF was started in 1984, which was one of the most innovative promotions featuring martial arts style using kicks, suplexes, submissions. UWF fans used to think UWF was the only real promotion and New Japan was fake. UWF was quite popular for hardcore Japanese wrestling fans in Tokyo, but not in the countryside at all. It was too early to understand for many casual fans because UWF style was like no rope work, no high-flying moves, no taking bumps. So the first UWF collapsed in 1985 and returned to New Japan. So New Japan used the UWF style for a gimmick, effectively. So, for example, when the New Japan guys tried to Irish whip the UWF guys, they would refuse to cooperate by holding the opposite rope. So the New Japan versus UWF program was successful, and the elimination match is part of that. and probably the first elimination match in New Japan history, and actually more than a year earlier than the first Survivor Series match. So, Damon, this was a match that you picked. So, do you want to go first and tell us your thoughts on the match?
Yeah, I picked this match because, and I picked a couple of matches because I kind of felt like they were little flag markers in New Japan history. And I kind of feel like this particular 5-on-5, I think the show was called New Wave Dash or something like that. And I just kind of remember that name. This kind of felt like it kicked off the feud officially for me. I know that they had a couple pull-aparts. I think there was like a Fujiwara match. And I want to say Fujiwara and it might have been Tatsumi Fujinami, where there was a match and they brawled. You know, they had like little pull aparts between UWF guys and New Japan guys. But this was like the really the official kickoff of this feud. And again, Maeda left New Japan. I think it was like 84 or something like that to form the first version of UWF, and then that fell apart. He apparently had some disagreements with Sayama, who also went to form the first version of UWF. But by the end of like what did Manabu say? Like 85, UWF was done. So then they brought everybody back. Fujiwara, he started in New Japan, left for UWF. I'm trying to think back. Ueda, the guy with the blonde hair, he was a heel for the longest time in New Japan. He was like one of those. He was kind of like an Izuka kind of guy, like a wild guy heel. And it was pretty significant for him to kind of join forces with the New Japan guys to ward off the UWF guys. So that was kind of significant. Fujinami and Kengo Kimura were the tag team champions at the time during this match. So I don't know. It just felt like a pretty significant match. And the match was, I liked it. I thought the UWF guys came across as such badasses in this match. Like, to me, they looked head and shoulders above the New Japan guys in the sense of badassery, and they just looked like a fucking beast team that would kick the shit out of you. Inoki looked like a total chump in the beginning, like all his friends holding him back, and you could kind of tell Inoki didn't want to be in there. But he had to push through, and then he wound up being the first guy in there. But it was just like kind of like, man, Inoki looked like a punk. Like Maeda's like, nah, come on, Inoki, I want you first. And Inoki's getting held back. I'll take you on, and all his friends holding him back. And the other thing is this, and I know I failed to mention that. I don't know if I've mentioned it ever on a podcast, but I absolutely loathe the fucking way Inoki hits the ropes. I can't stand the way he hits, where he bends his knee so low, and he's he's bouncing off the middle rope. He gets so low. I hate that. Just bounce off the ropes regular, will you please? But yeah, so I like the match a lot. I don't think it's the greatest match on paper, but I just think from a historical standpoint and all those little points that led up to where that match is, I thought it was really fucking interesting.
Yeah, watching it, you really get a feel for what a huge star Inoki is and the way that the crowd react to him and everything that he does. And even though I don't recognise a lot of guys in the match, I don't have a real appreciation of the context. Even so, it feels like the 5 versus 5 elimination match against the hostile invading force done to perfection. And we've seen it often imitated over the years. You know, it reminds me of when I was watching wrestling in my early years, that horrible WCW, ECW alliance invasion of WWF in 2001. And then they had that terrible Survivor Series blow-off match where the WCW team had like Stone Cold Steve Austin and Kurt Angle in it. It was just a disaster. But this match has a nuclear crowd. It's fast-paced, very crisp work, tons of drama, and I really wish we could get something like this again. And I'm so sorry to do this, Damon, but if they ever decide to open that forbidden door, just imagine that AEW team of like Cody, Kenny, Paige, and the Young Bucks against a team New Japan with a stipulation like the losers have to work shows for the opposing promotion in their home country. So like if Team AEW loses, then they have to work New Japan shows in the States, and if Team New Japan lose, then the AEW guys, the New Japan guys have to work some AEW shows. I just something like that would be really cool. On the topic, who would you pick for Team New Japan in that kind of scenario?
So if I'm using this as the template, right? So you have to have your top guy. So it would be like the figurehead top guy, right? The face of a promotion. So I would go Tanahashi. I would go Okada. I would go like Naito would be my wild card, right? Like, oh my God, Naito's teaming with these guys. So yeah, I would go and but you got to figure somebody's got to do a job too. So maybe Goto in there too, right? So like Tanahashi, Okada, Naito, Goto, and who would be my fourth guy or fifth guy? Good question. Who would be my last guy?
Do you want to hear my team?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a middle card guy. That would be a good fit for that. That would make sense. I'm like leaning toward Juice. Be honest with you, leaning toward Juice. But go ahead.
My team was Tanahashi's the captain, obviously, and Okada. Like they're two starting off right. We've got to make this team to get rid of these invaders. And Ibushi, once he hears that a certain someone is involved in the AEW team, he's like, right, I want to get involved. I want to settle the score here. Juice is getting involved because he knows all about getting rid of AEW guys. You know, as he famously said, that he Pulp Friction Cody's ass right out of the company. And I'd have Will Ospreay as my fifth member of the team, just because I think he'd enjoy that.
Okay. Yeah, I would put Goto in there in the mix. I would want it to be a little bit more Japanese heavy.
Yeah,
if that
maybe
makes
Ishii
sense.
then. Maybe that'll be a good pick.
Ooh, that might be my fifth guy. That's not bad. That's not bad. But yeah, Naito being that wild card, right? That guy that, oh my God, he's actually joining this group to. That's the seriousness of what's happening. That Naito would even consider doing something like this. So yeah, I would do that.
So you wouldn't do like Jay White joining the team, saying, "No, I was
now
a young
you
lion in the dojo. I want to protect this," and then during the match he just fucks them over and walks off.
I mean, you could. I mean, that I know we're doing a lot of fantasy booking, my favorite, but yeah, you could do that. Sure, absolutely. AEW side, obviously Kenny, Cody, Hangman Page. Who would fill your other two spots?
Not the Young Bucks?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, because they would be lying down. They would be almost lying down. All right.
Hey, we've got some breaking news here.
Uh-oh.
The governor of Tokyo has basically said that people should not go out.
Oh.
So, I mean, the way I see it, there's no way to do shows for any pro wrestling company if that is going to be enforced.
So is that an official mandate or is that a suggestion?
It looks like it's a suggestion because I asked, Manabu told me actually, and I said, was it a should not go out or must not go out? He said should not. So again, I don't know if this is one of those sort of recommendations rather than official orders, but
it sounds like we're back to square one again there, though, doesn't it? Doesn't it sound like we're going backwards, where we thought maybe there was a light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, this is vindicating what I said, isn't it? That them trying to save face, like, you know, Krusty is coming, the Olympics are coming. That was them doing all the half-assed measures, but now that's been taken off the table. They can deal with it properly.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, it really was. It was the elephant in the room, wasn't it? All right. There you go. All right. So, what did you think of this match? Give me a letter grade flakes, whatever your recommendation. Give me what you thought overall.
I'll give it 3 3/4 because not having the context, I can only enjoy it so much. With the emotional investment, I imagine I would absolutely adore this. But just going purely by the crowd reaction and the work, I think 3 3/4 is my score.
Okay, I think that's fair. Excellent job. All right, let's move on.
Next is Keiji Muto versus Nobuhiko Takada on 9th of October 1995. So again, Manabu gives us the context. There's apparently too many stories behind the match to mention. New Japan and UWF International hated each other at the time. Even both fans hated each other too, and then suddenly it happened. The show was historically the most successful show ever, even up to now. Tokyo Dome was completely sold out on the Monday. It was not a Saturday or a Sunday, not a national holiday. This was just a regular-ass Monday. And some people who couldn't buy tickets were watching on the monitor screens in the stadium from outside and listening to the theme songs, trying to figure out which person won. So, did you watch this on New Japan World?
I watched it on New Japan World, and I have a copy of it, on my hard drive. Yes.
Did you catch the bit at the start when they're interviewing Inoki, and there are these 3 delinquent teenagers, peak 90s slacker scumbag teen archetypes, mouthing shit at the camera, and then the one guy just flips up the middle finger before the camera cuts away, and then you get all these other rapscallions trying to poke their heads into the frame. I couldn't stop laughing. I thought it was brilliant. Did you notice that as well?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's. I know the dignified Antonio Inoki has to put up with the trash behind him, just flipping the bird in the camera. Yeah. I remember getting the Observer, and again. I say it all the time, but at the time, it would be months before you would get these matches on VHS. And, Meltzer was writing about how the gate was blowing everything out the doors and the interest in it. And it's funny because it feels like, New Japan was able to milk this idea of UWF versus New Japan we'll call it shooting versus pro wrestling. They were able to milk it for so long and so many generations, it felt like. And maybe even to this day, they could probably go back to it. And this was kind of like the climax of that. I think it's a climax in the sense of business and New Japan popularity. As this was a legitimate sellout and a legitimate gate that blew the doors off of just about anything pro wrestling. And the idea was, the entire show revolved around UWF versus New Japan, with the main event being Kajimoto versus Nobuhiko Takada. And shockingly, not to give away spoilers, but you should have watched it already, Pro Wrestling wins with a figure 4 leg lock, Joel.
I enjoyed this a lot because, again, similar to the last match, there was white hot crowds, just living or dying by every single hold and counter hold. And even though at the start of the match, there's lots of tentative feeling out, grappling, but it's those little bursts when Takada starts laying in the kicks or Muto lands a suplex. They got such great reactions and just fantastic dynamics, like the good versus bad, the red trunks versus the blue trunks. It's just like something out of an 80s movie or an arcade game. And that monster pop when Takada tapped out at the end. And I know they kind of cut it out in the world stream, but you can find other versions of it on other websites where you can hear that pop in full. And I thought this was laid out really effectively as a kind of quasi work shoot match with Muto targeting Takada's knee. It was simple but really well executed. It's the kind of thing you might expect to see in a real MMA fight. So I thought it was really well done.
Yeah. I actually, while you were talking, I have the program to that show. I'm kind of leafing through it a little bit. The whole thing was just built around that idea of UWF versus New Japan, and I'm just kind of thumbing my way through this as this had Liger, Naoki Sano went to UWF 5. I actually have it. This is the first time I must have really, really leafed through this. There are two stickers. There's a sticker of the Muta Takada match. There's like a mini sticker, and then there's another sticker where it's New Japan versus. That's just the logos. It's like New Japan and UWFI logos stickers right in the thing. I never even noticed that. To me this match. It started slow. Let's be honest. It didn't really kick in until maybe 3 minutes, right? But that last 3 minutes was pretty great.
To be fair, right, that is the kind of thing you might expect from a top-level MMA match. I don't know if you watch any UFC, but there was a recent middleweight title fight between Israel Adesanya and Yoel Romero where it was basically 25 minutes of that. 25 minutes of bullshit, nothing. So I'll forgive them that. Maybe they wanted to go with the realism there.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. You know, I'm sure. And some people, if you read reviews of this match online, you know that you have a pretty large faction of people that are like, Muta was lazy, and you got lazy Muta, and he doesn't know how to work that shoot style or whatever. I like the match just for the drama of it. I like the match for the historical context of it. I don't think the match was horrible. It's not for everyone's taste, that's for sure. I was a huge fan of Nobuhiko Takada. I really thought he was the bee's knees. Sometimes sometimes when it turned into those worked shoots, they didn't always stick with me. I liked him as a pro wrestler. I liked him as a badass, I'm going to kick your face off pro wrestler as opposed to I'm going to be shoot style, worked shoot / MMA guy. Like that, those matches never really stuck as hard for me as, say, him just being a badass pro wrestler. But again, I think the match is significant in the sense that, from a business standpoint, you're probably looking at peak New Japan. So I think it's one of those matches where I feel like everybody needs to see it just to say, okay, there's another flagpole stuck in the ground of New Japan history.
Jax says, I'd say this is related to one of the matches enough. Which of the UWF runs is your favourite?
I like the first one, personally. I'll tell you what, the war invasion, WAR invasion, sometimes I like a little bit more. I like the first UWF invasion one. I like that one. I just think the matches are more heated. It was the first one, so it was fresh for everybody. I like a lot of the guys that were involved in it. So I would go first one. But I still think like War was one of the better invasions too. But I would go first one.
That brings us on to our last match, which was Big Van Vader versus Shinya Hashimoto from 24th of April 1989. And Manabu enlightens us. The match was the final of a single elimination tournament at the first Tokyo Dome show for New Japan. The main theme of the show was that many Russian wrestlers were coming to New Japan for the first time. So that one-night tournament had Fujinami, Choshu, Hashimoto, Chono, Vader, Buzz Sawyer, Vladimir Berkovich, and Viktor Zangief. And fans of Street Fighter 2 might recognise the name. So the Zangief character in Street Fighter 2 was inspired by Viktor Zangief, who wrestled on this show. So Damon, take it away, please. What did you think?
So again, here's another historical match that is one of those defining moments. Shinya Hashimoto in this match was like super young. He did a lot of stuff in Memphis, and if I'm not mistaken, Stampede, like for his excursions, and he was really, I wouldn't even say he was coming back to New Japan. He was like the next week he was on Memphis TV, if I'm not mistaken. He was doing like this gimmick Shogun, I think it was. I want to say it was like the next week he's in Memphis doing shows after this show. And Vader was always kind of like earmarked. He was just involved in that Sumo Hall angle where they got banned because of the riot in the crowd. So So it was kind of weird. Hashimoto pinned two of the Russian wrestlers. And that was a huge build-up too. The idea of these legitimate amateur-style wrestlers who were coming into New Japan. There was a 10-man tournament for the vacated IWGP Heavyweight Championship because I think Fujinami had back issues. I want to say spine issues or back issues or some shit like that. So he vacated the title. They had this kind of mini tournament. Hashimoto came out of nowhere to kind of be in the finals against Vader and to put on a strong showing. Vader pinned Masahiro Chono, I think, in the first round in like 5 minutes. And then he pinned Tatsumi Fujinami, which was, kind of like a big deal at the time. And then fucking Lou Thayas in as special guest referee. I don't know what it is in pro wrestling, Joel. Maybe you can help me. Why do pro wrestlers make the absolute shitbag worst referees in matches? They are almost always horrific. You would think that they would be great. They are almost always horrible. And Lou Thayas, that 3 count. So Vader hits this fucking huge lariat, but it didn't look like it was like a pinning move. But he hits him with a really stiff lariat. Boom. Hashimoto goes down. Here's the count. 1, 2, 2.5, 2 3/4, 3. The pause between 2 and 3 was horrific. It was like, and then everybody's kind of like, is that the finish? Is that the end? Is that what happened? And then, yeah, it was. So it looked like it was a total fuck-up finish at the end. Thayas stalling on the count looked terrible. But there you go. We have a Vader crowned as the new IWGP Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, I had the same thing in my notes. It just really took the wind out of the sails to end that match because it just felt like a very weird finish. And if you can hear noises behind me, Mally thinks this is the optimum time to be doing the dishes. So there we go, a bit of background noise for you. I like Vader's little mask and the thingy. I don't know what it was. Was it like body armor or something with the steam coming out? And then Hashimoto just looking distinctly unimpressed with his arms folded afterwards. And also, like earlier on in the match, there was some really loud coughing in the background, like someone really hacking their lungs out, which in this day and age I found deeply disturbing. I'm sort of looking around thinking like, oh god, I'm going to catch it. And yeah, this is a fun match. I like seeing Hash laying the kicks in and Vader screams. And again, like last week, you're just getting huge reactions for simple moves like a hammerlock or a shoulder breaker. And yeah, Vader's lariat is just absolutely brutal. Just the prototype for the stuff you see these days with people like Shingo and Ishii just lariating the hell out of each other. But this was just on another level.
Yeah, this would be like again a coming out party for Shinya Hashimoto, right? This match, and keep in mind that Vader had his arm worked over. I had some notes. Vader did have his arm worked over by Fujinami in the match before, so that kind of led into this. I thought the match was good. Again, that fucked up finish was crazy. Brad Renning, I always mispronounce his name. Brad Rennings, Brad Rennings, was in Vader's corner. He was a AWA mainstay, and they tag teamed a lot during that tour. I was going through some old observers looking through. So Vader and Brad tag teamed a lot during that tour. So, yeah, I just thought that was an interesting one, and I had actually seriously forgotten about how bad Luthers fucked up that finish. But I thought the match was decent. And again, I think it was more of, hey, if you're looking for career highlights for Hashimoto, that this is kind of like where the journey starts for me anyway. This was kind of like a guy who, okay, he may have lost, but he fought valiantly, and nobody really had him penciled in to be in the finals.
Okay, well, let's dig into the mailbag then. Discord first. Japanese Retro Game Center says, will we have to resort to tape trading if this crisis continues? I'm prepared, and they sent us a picture here, which I'm going to send to you on WhatsApp, and I don't know if you will recognise these covers from what events these are, but yeah, have a look.
All right, let's take a look. Oh yeah, there you go. All right. Sting Muda, yeah. I think I had that tape actually. Now that I look at the cover, yeah, Sting versus Muda. I don't. That might be just be the. There's like a history. Oh, is that against Katsuki Sasaki? Might be. I remember the one on the right. It's Sting and Muda because I can I seem to remember having that bootleg cover. Somebody printed it off. But yeah, tape trading was fun. I mean, it's kind of like getting a package in the mail. How it's like, oh, here it is. And but the thing about it was, even though it was fun getting that package in the mail, you pop in the tape and you're excited. But when you got a dud tape. So like video quality was so shit. Like it was a fucking 19th generation copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, and the video quality was shit. You're just like fuck. Because again, you're trading, you're taking the time to dub your tapes to send out, and then you would get it back and you just be like fuck. And then you would not always, but there would be times where you set up a trade, and it again, a lot of it is through the mail. So just to set up the fucking trade. You're dealing with, at least 2 weeks of going back and forth with the fucking mail. And then you finally agree, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. You do it. And then the guy fucking stiffs you. Like you never get your tapes. That was the worst. You're just like, motherfucker. You never hear from him again. What are you going to do? Look up his phone number and call him? Please. So yeah, tape trading. What a fucking time to be alive.
It's lucky we got lots of good stuff being uploaded to New Japan World. There's a little chat thing with Okada and Tiger Hattori, which looks like a lot of fun, so I'll check that out before next week. Mixelplick says, Dear Damon and Jar, I'm a big fan of both New Japan and AEW. Okada and the Young Bucks are some of my favourite wrestlers ever. I don't know anything about international finance, but I'm interested in what is the international conversion rate between Young Bucks and Okada dollars? Maybe an angle here if forces can build cooperative wrestling efforts in the future. So Damon, if you are the Chancellor of the Exchequer in the International Wrestling Bank, what is the exchange rate you're setting for Okada dollars and Young Bucks dollars?
I mean, Christ, I'm thinking at least 2-1, right?
Right.
At least 2-1. I mean, we're talking the top guy in your promotion, arguably, and a tag team that's, hasn't quite yet won their tag titles. I'm going 2-1, Okada over Young Bucks.
Joby1 Kenobi says, this has been on my mind for a while, but I haven't wanted to ask. Since we're all super fucking bummed about everything already, I figured now would be a good time to ask. I adore Tomohiro Ishii. Can we have a conversation about what his quality of life must be like? How does he not wake up in constant pain every day? What will things be like for him in 5 years, 10 years? Based on his start in the ring, I worry about him, and it's starting to affect the way I watch his matches. On the topic, there was a really funny tweet by El Phantasmo who says, like, after all this rest and time out of the ring, all our bodies are going to go back to normal. So when we get back in that first match, the first vertical suplex is going to put me down for the 3 count.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. Look, I can't imagine Ishii not waking up in pain. But I also can't imagine anyone being privy to that, right? He's fucking Tomohiro Ishii. He's not going to show anything. But yeah, I mean, being in car crashes, 50 dates out of the year, yeah, it takes a toll. Year after year after year after year after year. I guarantee he is in pain. I guarantee he has trouble waking up and getting out of bed. And I guarantee that as the years go on, he's going to feel those aches and pains that a 20-year-old may not have felt as strong. But when he gets into his 40s and 50s, yep, he'll feel it. Here's a perfect example. I mean, look at Riki Choshu now. Riki Choshu getting into the ring, just the previous shows with Tiger Hattori's retirement, didn't look like he's older. He's in 60s, late 50s, 60s. You could see he's having trouble moving around. I mean, you just looked at the Okada one where he's getting injections and therapies, and the guy can't even walk to get to the therapist. I mean, that's a guy in the prime time of his career. Yeah, it's a fair look. but I'm going to say this: if you watch sports, an offensive lineman who has a career of 4 years on average, and the beating that they take every single Sunday. Okay, a hockey player who gets smashed into the boards doing 30 miles an hour on a pair of fucking skates constantly, game after game after game after game. It's going to add up. If you're in a contact sport, yeah, I mean your body's going to break down. Now the bad part about it is that I don't think New Japan Pro Wrestling has that system built in where they take care of the wrestlers as well as maybe I would hope. So if that weighs on your mind, I'm not going to bullshit you. He probably is, and his quality of life probably will diminish. But it's not like we say it all the time as a joke. They knew what they were getting into.
I was just going to say that.
Right? They knew that's what they do. That's what they chose to do. So take it for what it's worth.
Cola Blue 03 says, "What's the best year for wrestling and music or games? My best wrestling memories are always tied to whatever I was hearing / playing at the time. So I wondered if yours were too. I'm quite partial to some 1997, Misawa, Liger, Austin, Final Fantasy VII, and OK Computer."
That's not bad. I was going to go 92, 93. That might be some pretty good stuff. You're wrestling wise, you got your All Japan that's hitting all fucking cylinders. You got juniors in New Japan that are smoking red hot. Musically, you got you're at the end of Stone Roses, Smiths, but you're looking into Suede and Oasis and all that right around the corner. So that seemed a little fresh at the time. You're in the middle of grunge, which I really wasn't the biggest fan of, but at least it was different. Video games I don't really know, but I guess you got Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I don't know. But yeah, I'll go like 90. I'll say 93.
2001. I think that was a good year. That's when WWF, I think, was reaching one of its peaks with the build-up to WrestleMania 17, which I thought was excellent. Games, what we got? Grand Theft Auto 3, Devil May Cry, Metal Gear Solid 2, Eco, Silent Hill 2, Sonic Adventure 2, Luigi's Mansion, Shenmue 2, that was 2001 as well. So, yeah, 2001 would be my shout for that. Okay, Bash says, question for Joel, favourite British biscuits bar Jaffa Cakes? I like Jammy Dodgers and the jam cream ring things. Anything with like a combination of jam and cream is a big plus for me. Milk chocolate hobnobs are good. Chocolate digestives, can't go wrong with that. Yeah, so those would be my picks. And Bash also adds up, just become an uncle again for the night time since my brother had a baby girl. Congratulations to you, Bash. How's Mally and the baby? Have you lost any sleep yet? Yeah, definitely getting less sleep than we used to, but it's manageable, and we're enjoying the challenges of being parents. We both knew it was going to be difficult, so like I've said before, I don't want to be one of these parents who's just moaning, oh, it's so hard, or I've got to change nappies, and I'm sleepy.
What?
Mally says bullshit.
What she said? Oh, you complain all the time? You want to get her on? Let's get her on. Bring her over.
Mally, do you want to come on the show?
No thanks, I'm okay.
She says, no thanks, I'm okay. It's put us in our place, hasn't it?
Yep, sure did. Well, all right. I like Jammy Dodgers. They're delicious. I've had them more than a few times. They might be my favorite.
Happy Faces. Have you ever had Happy Faces?
No. What? Give me the scoop on the Happy Face.
Okay, so it's a biscuit sandwich. The biscuit is shaped like a face, and then in between you've got like a mixture of jam and cream.
Huh. I would have no problem shoving it down my throat. That's for fucking sure. So yeah, good.
I went to Marks and Spencer's. There's a little Marks and Spencer's just down the road in the central shopping centre in a place called Chidlom, and there's just this tiny little Marks and Spencer's section, and everything is grossly overpriced, but I was just feeling like I needed a bit of a treat, so I went there, tried to get some of the stuff that was discounted. So I got a big bag of salt and malt vinegar hand-cooked crisps and some chocolate chip shortbread rounds and some custard cream biscuits, which is another classic. So, you know, you got to treat yourself sometimes, haven't you?
We again, we're in shutdown mode, so nothing's open. But a lot of our restaurants have takeout only options. So, and also our breweries now. So you go to the brewery, you pay for it online, and you drive to the brewery, and you pop the trunk, and they put it right in, and you don't even talk to the people. You don't even say a word, you know, and then you bring it home. Joel, I've drank so much this fucking week, like that. And this is me saying it. This is me. Like I have gone through so much beer and alcohol this past week that I feel like I have to wean, like when this is over, I'll have to wean myself off, because if I just go cold turkey, I'm going to be in bad shape. So much. Cheryl had like half a bottle of wine. I had 64 ounces of beer. And like, I kid you not, in an hour, I was just like, not good. Oh well.
Mally has just walked past. She just looked at me with this very serious look on her face, sort of gestured her chin towards the bedroom that has the baby in it, and looked at me and said, shower. So I think it means that it's time to wrap up the podcast. You might be able to hear some baby fussing in the background. Okay, so redcircle.com/shows/super-j-cast. I've just had to fork out for a new microphone, and you know, I've just had a baby, and they're not cheap. So if you want to help me out a bit, give me some money. Discord link is in the show notes, prowrestlingtees.com/super-j-cast. Thank you, as always, to editor Dan. You can find him on Twitter at LousyHero219. Subscribe to the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network for other great shows. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at the Super J Cast. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and goodbye.